several reasons as to why I think Uncharted 4 may not be as good as it has been portrayed. I wanted to kind of follow this up from my review parody, just in case anyone is not familiar. The parody was a video I made in which I kind of poked fun at the game. It was taken with a grain of salt. There was a lot of truth to that review, funnily enough, that parody review. And I was debating whether to review Uncharted 4 in my normal format, but I decided instead I would do this video. First of all, I have to point out Nadine. She's a rather forgetful character, and she's very powerful, no doubt. She's very powerful. And she does defeat Nathan and Sam handedly. Unfortunately, other than being a hired muscle or hired gun cronies for Rafe, she doesn't really do much other than leave Nathan and Rafe to fight it out on the ship towards the end of the game, which ultimately is another disappointment for me. The final boss is kind of a quick time based event, button prompts. Really hate that. Unimaginative and uninspired. But that leads to my second point, which is the levels. Predominantly, or specifically, chapters 6 through 9, which is referred to as the Edinburgh chapters. It really reiterates the whole climbing simulator thing, and it drags on for way longer than it should. There's moments where you're just climbing cliff faces in Edinburgh for about 20 minutes in real time. That's way too long in my opinion. And subsequently this scrimps on the actual gameplay. Like, you've got the run and gun elements from previous Uncharted games, and they're almost stripped completely bare, or only allocated to specific sections. Another reason, Sam Drake. I'm gonna say it, as some of my friends have said it, he's kind of a dick. I mean, he was released 2 years before Nathan knew he was still alive, and that way Nathan carried around the guilt of his brother, thought he was dead for years. And there are parts of the game where Sam gets annoying, tells really bad jokes, and he contradicts Nathan at almost every possible turn. There's a particular chapter, chapter 9, for those who prove themselves worthy, and you might remember it, it's the cross puzzle, where you have to move the 3 crosses and the bucket of water to the top. Sam contradicts you and tells you that it was your fault, even though Sam was the one that told you to do that. You know, Sam just wants to be Big Brother, even though it's kind of douchey, and if he kept her head of his finances, he wouldn't be in the trouble that he's actually in. Another problem I had was chapters feeling empty and rather pointless. Specifically chapter 10, which I've referred to as the Madagascar level. What I mean by that is it has large sprawling environments, but with very little actually in them. It's what I would call all presentation and no real substance. A lot of the times in those levels you're wandering around aimlessly, and when you do die as a character, like if you're playing as Nathan and you die, it's usually caused by set piece placement. You'll mostly die because you couldn't see what you were supposed to latch onto, and there's a mission in chapter 11 which is like a clock tower puzzle. The way the camera's focused in on Nathan, you really can't really see what's below you, and therefore a lot of the times you'll die is because you think there's platform base below you, but there wasn't. It's really inconsistent, and that's something I noticed. I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but it's something I certainly noticed. And that may be because of the development team with Naughty Dog. It's what I refer to as telling an Indiana Jones story with The Last of Us ideas. It's basically a game that is trying to have ideas above its station. The game's simple story, the Uncharted stories are pretty simple, you know, Nathan discovers treasure, he goes after it. Whereas, because Naughty Dog developed The Last of Us, they thought they could incorporate certain tragic or sad or twist elements. And I put it simply, Nathan Drake is not Joel. I felt also that Drake's deception ended the series somewhat comfortably. And I think, and this is a theory I have, I think many have praised this game as it's the first real Uncharted game since Drake's Deception in 2011, so this is 5 years or so around that time period. A time frame of about 5 years since the last actual Uncharted game, not including the Nathan Drake collection that was released last year. So I think people have been giving this game a lot more credit than it truly deserves. No game is perfect. I think it's a solid game, but it's trying to be more than it is. There's a lot of people that are saying this is the best, not only Uncharted game, but one of the best games that they've ever played. But there are so many issues with it. There are, and to overlook them would be negligent on one of the highest levels. I think if you really challenge yourself and you really look behind that and you take off the rose-tinted glasses, you'll actually see this game for what it is. So that's why I think Uncharted 4 may not be as good as you might think. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. I've been Heracross Gaming. I'll see you soon.